Hello everyone, here we students of class 11 science are going to elucidate our knowledge about the human endocrine system. So the question comes in our mind that what is endocrine system? The endocrine system is a network of glands in our body that makes the hormones that help cells talk to each other. They are responsible for almost every cells, organs and function in our body. Human endocrine system, a group of ductless glands that regulates body process by secreting chemical substances called hormones. So now we're gonna learn out some different types of endocrine glands. The thyroid gland. Here we will learn about its introduction, structure, functions, hormones and disorders.
Thyroid is a butterfly-shaped column that's situated on the top of the trachea or windpipe. It's made up of right thyroid as well as left thyroid lobe, and they are connected by isthmus or the centerpiece. Occasionally, there is a fingers of tissues called pyramidal lobe that extends towards the head. The thyroid regulates thyroxine hormone, which helps in metabolism activities. There are four parathyroids attached at the back sides of thyroid, which controls the regulation of calcium in the blood. The thyroid gland is a ductless alveolar gland found in the anterior neck just below the laryngeal prominence. Adam's apple. The gland is not usually palpable.
The function of thyroid gland is to produce and store thyroid hormones. Thyroid epithelia from follicles filled with colloid, a protein-rich reservoir of the materials needed for thyroid hormone production. These follicles range in size from 0.02 to 0.03 mm, and the epithelium may be simple cuboidal or simple columnar. In the spaces between the follicles, parafollicular cells can be found. These cells secrete calcitonin, which is involved in the regulation of calcium metabolism in the body.
The thyroid gland is located in the front of the neck just below the thyroid cartilage known as Adam's apple. It is composed of two lobes on either side of the windpipe. Despite of its small size, thyroid gland has important tasks. Thyroid gland produces hormones which are important for the growth and energy metabolism of the body. The production of thyroid hormones is controlled by another hormone called the thyroid stimulating hormone or TSH. TSH is secreted by the pituitary gland in response to the stimulation from the hypothalamus in the brain. The thyroid needs iodine out of nutrition in order to produce thyroid hormone. There are two types of primary thyroid hormones produced by the thyroid gland. Thyroxine, also known as T4, and triiodothyronine, which is also known as T3. Number 3 and 4 found in their names indicate the number of iodine atoms in each hormone. T4 is inactive and is converted by the body into its active form T3.
Thyroid hormones regulates the variety physiological and development processes like metabolic rate, neurological bones and muscles development. Too much increases heart rate and too little leads to face swelling, wicking, slow speech and dry skin among other things. Not enough thyroid hormones during embryogenesis, postnatal development result in intellectual disabilities, impaired motor functions and short stature. Thyroid hormones controls these functions by regulating the expression of genes involved in these processes. This is known as genomic regulation. Thyroid hormones includes triiodothyronine T3 and thyroxine T4. Now here, triiodothyronine and thyroxine separated by only one iodide molecules and their biological activities is differ significantly. The hypothalamus detects low plasma concentration of thyroid hormones and releases thyrotrophin releasing hormones TRH into the hypoplasmal portal system. TRH binds to receptors found on the thyrotrophin cells of the anterior pituitary gland, causing to release thyroid stimulating hormones TSH into the systematic circulation.
Among all hormonal problems, thyroid disease are most common ones. Thyroid disease can be divided into three major groups. There is an excessive production of thyroid hormone which is called hyperthyroidism. There is decreased production of thyroid hormone which is called hypothyroidism. Multiple nodules or generalized swelling of thyroid gland is called goiter. Hyperthyroidism means that the thyroid gland is producing excessive thyroid hormones. It causes increased metabolism which consume a lot of your energy. It is the main reason why people having hyperthyroidism feel tired. Many people with hyperthyroidism are also nervous and stressed which make them more tired. Unlike hyperthyroidism, hypothyroidism means that thyroid glands produce decreased thyroid hormones which lead to reduced metabolism. Symptoms of hypothyroidism are feeling tired, feeling cold, heart problems, increase in weight, depressed feeling, hair loss, voice and deeper
So
voice.
here we learn out the some basic concepts of thyroid glands. Along with that, thyroid also helps in maintenance of water and electrolyte balance. It also secretes a protein hormone called TCT. Hope now we all have better understanding of our
Insulin. What is insulin? Insulin is a hormone produced by the pancreas to help metabolism and use food for energy throughout the body. This is a key biological function, and so a problem with insulin can have a widespread effect on any or all of the tissues, organ and system of the body. Insulin is so important to overall health and even survival that when there are problem with insulin, it leads to diabetes. Now, it's time to understand the role of insulin in human body. The most important role of insulin in the human body is its interaction with glucose to allow the cell of body to use glucose as energy. The pancreas usually produces more insulin in response to a spike in blood sugar level. For example, after eating a meal high in energy, this is because the insulin acts as a key to open up the cell in the body and allows the glucose to be used as an energy source. Additionally, when there is excess glucose in the bloodstream, it's known as hyperglycemia. Insulin encourages the storage of glucose as glycogen in liver. This store can be used as later. As a result of this, there is less insulin in the bloodstream and normal blood glucose level are restored. Insulin stimulates the synthesis of glycogen in the liver, but when the liver is saturated with glycogen, and alternative pathways take over. This involves the additional glucose with adipose tissue, leading to synthesis of lipoprotein.
Insulin is a polypeptide hormone produced by beta cell in Langerhans of pancreas. It has profound influence on metabolism of carbohydrates, fats, and protein. It is considered an anabolic hormone. Human insulin contains 51 amino acids arranged in two polypeptide hormone chain A 21 amino acid and chain B 30 amino.
Insulin is a hormone produced in the pancreas which regulates the amount of glucose in the blood. How it works? During digestion, food that contains carbohydrates are converted into glucose. Most of the glucose is sent into the bloodstream, causing a rise in the blood glucose level. This increase in blood glucose signals your pancreas to produce insulin. The insulin tells cells throughout your body to take in glucose from your bloodstream. As the glucose moves into your cells, your blood glucose levels go down. It stimulates the storing of glucose in the liver and develops the fat. Insulin is produced by the pancreas when blood sugar is high. Some cells use the glucose as energy. Other cells, such as in our liver and muscles, store any excess glucose as a substance called glycogen. Our body uses glycogen for fuel.
Types of insulin. There are mainly 5 types of insulin: rapid acting insulin, regular insulin, intermediate acting insulin, long acting insulin, and combination insulin. Rapid acting insulin begins to start work in 15 to 20 minutes after injection. Its action is at its greatest between 1 to 3 hours after injection. It lasts 3 to 4 hours in our body and given 15 minutes before meal. Regular insulin. It is also known as short-acting insulin. It begins to work 30 minutes after injection. Its action is at its greatest between 3 to 5 hours. It lasts for 6 to 10 hours in our body. It is usually given 30 minutes before meal. Intermediate insulin. It begins to work 1 hour after injection. Its action is at its greatest between 6 to 12 hours. It lasts 20 to 24 hours in our body. It is often given before breakfast. Long-acting insulin. It begins to start work 2 to 8 hours after injection. Its action is at its greatest at about 12 hours. It lasts around 18 to 24 hours in our body. Mixed insulin. It contains a premixed combination of either rapid acting or short acting together with intermediate acting insulin. It begins to work around half hour after injection. It lasts up to 24 hours in our body and taken before meals as directed.
Diabetes. Diabetes is a condition that impairs the body's ability to process blood glucose, otherwise known as blood sugar. Without ongoing careful management, diabetes can lead to a buildup of sugar in the blood, which can increase the risk of dangerous complications including stroke and heart diseases. Different kinds of diabetes can occur, and managing the condition depend on the type. Not all forms of diabetes stem from a person being overweight or leading an inactive lifestyles, but in fact some are present from the childhood. Role of insulin. To understand why insulin is important in diabetes, it helps to know more about how the body uses food for the energy. Your body is made up of millions of cells to make energy. These cells need food in a very simple form. When you eat or drink much of your food is broken down into a simple sugar called glucose. Then glucose is transported through the bloodstream to the cells of your body, where it can be used to provide some energy to need your body for their daily activity. The amount of glucose in your bloodstream is tightly regulated by the hormone insulin. Insulin is always being released in small amount by the pancreas. When the amount of glucose in your blood rises to a certain level, the pancreas will release more insulin to push more glucose into the cells. This causes the glucose level in your blood to drop. To keep your blood glucose level from getting low, hypoglycemia or low blood sugar, your body signals you to eat and release more glucose from storage kept in the liver. People with diabetes either do not make insulin or their body cells are resistant to insulin, leading to high level of sugar circulating in the blood, called simply high blood sugar. By definition, diabetes is having a blood glucose level of 126 mg per deciliter or more after an overnight fast.
Hormones of heart, kidney, and gastrointestinal tract.
First, heart. Atrial wall of heart secretes peptide hormone called atrial natriuretic factor (ANF), which decreases the blood pressure when the blood pressure is increased. ANF is secreted, which causes dilation of blood vessels, and this reduces the blood pressure.
2. Kidney. The juxtaglomerular cells of kidney produce two hormones, namely erythropoietin, which stimulates bone marrow to produce more RBCs, and renin, which acts on protein angiotensinogen to form angiotensin. Angiotensin raises BP to increase ultrafiltration.
3. Gastrointestinal tract. Endocrine cells present in different parts of gastrointestinal tract secrete 4 major peptide hormones. First, gastric. Act on gastric glands and stimulate the secretion of HCl and pepsinogen.
2. Secretin. Acts on exocrine pancreas and stimulates the secretion of water and bicarbonate ions.
Cystokinase acts on both pancreas and gallbladder and stimulates the secretion of pancreatic enzymes and bile juice.
4th, gastric inhibitory peptide. It inhibits gastric secretion and motility. Several non-endocrine tissues secrete hormones called growth factors. These factors are essential for normal growth and tissues and their repairing or regeneration.
Adrenal glands. So, here are the topics that we are going to cover in this video. They are the introduction of adrenal gland, structure, functions of hormones and disorders. So firstly, let's start with the introduction of our adrenal glands. Adrenal gland. They are a pair of yellowish flat pyramid-like glands which lie over the upper end of the kidneys. They look like a cap on the kidney. Each gland has outer yellowish adrenal cortex and inner reddish brown adrenal medulla. Adrenal medulla secretes two hormones called adrenaline or epinephrine and non-adrenaline or non-epinephrine. These are commonly called catecholamines. Anatomy of adrenal glands.
Adrenaline glands have a layered structure. They are covered with a connective tissue. Upper capsule is the adrenal cortex and the capsule adrenal. They both function independently, so both are two different adrenal glands. The adrenal cortex consists of 3 zones. Each of zones produces steroid hormones that play different roles in the body. The 3 zones are zona glomerulosa or outer part, zona fasciculata middle part, zona reticularis inner part.
Hormones of adrenal gland with functions. Adrenal cortex secrete many hormones called corticoids. A. Glucocorticoids involved in carbohydrate metabolism. Example: cortisols. B. Mineralocorticoids. Corticoids which regulate the balance of water and electrolytes in our body. Example: aldosterone. Glucocorticoids stimulate glucogenesis, lipolysis, and proteolysis, and inhibit cellular uptake and utilization of amino acids. Cortisol is also involved in maintaining the cardiovascular system and kidney functions. It also produces anti-inflammatory reactions and suppress the immune response. Cortisol stimulate RBC production. Aldosterone act as a renal tubule and stimulate reabsorption of sodium and water and excretion of potassium and PO4. Thus, aldosterone helps the maintenance of electrolytes, body fluids, volume, osmotic pressure, and BP. Small amount of androgenic steroids are also secreted by adrenal cortex, which play a role in the growth of axial hair and public pubic hairs and facial hair during puberty.
Disorders affecting the adrenal glands. Sometimes the adrenal glands produce too much or not enough of their hormones. When this happens, it is known as an adrenal gland disorders. The following section discuss the most common adrenal gland disorder: adrenal insufficiency and Addison's diseases. When the adrenal gland do not make enough cortisol, it is known as adrenal insufficiency. There are three types of adrenal insufficiency. Primary adrenal insufficiency. This condition develops when the adrenal gland itself does not function well and cannot make enough cortisol. Secondary adrenal insufficiency. This occurs when the pituitary gland does not make enough of a hormone called adrenocorticotropion. Without ACTH, the adrenal do not receive a signal to make cortisol. Tertiary adrenal insufficiency. This occurs when the brain cannot produce enough corticotropion, releasing hormone. The most common sign and symptom include always feeling tired, unexplained weight loss, loss of appetite, vomiting, diarrhea. Cushing syndrome. People with Cushing syndrome have adrenals that produce too much cortisol. The most common case of this is using medication called glucocorticoids for a long time and at high doses. Glucocorticoids help treat many conditions including asthma, rheumatoid arthritis, and lupus. They act like cortisol in the body. Certain tumors can also cause Cushing syndrome. This includes pituitary endomas. These are being growth on the pituitary gland. These can make the pituitary gland produce too much ACTH, which result into make cortisol. Ectopic ACTH producing tumors. These produce too much ACTH but are not located on the pituitary gland.
Gonads, testes and ovaries. So during this presentation, we are going to cover the entire structure and functions of testes and ovaries, including their hormonal secretion and disorders. Right, so let's get started.
Testicles, also known as testes. Testes are the male sex gland. They are located behind the penis in a pouch of skin called scrotum. Testes perform dual function as a primary sex organ well as an endocrine gland.
Anatomy and functions of testes. As we all know, testes are a pair of primary sex organ of the male. They are located in the subpubic region of the penis and along with the rest of the male reproductive components. The testes are ovoid-shaped bilateral organ roughly 4 cm long with a diameter of 3 cm in an adult male. Testes do functional roles: sperm production and testosterone secretion. Testes reside inside the scrotum, a cutaneous fibromuscular sac that hang out of the body and contain the testis, epidermis, and distal part of the spermatic cord.
Testosterone secreted by the testes diffusing into the peripheral circulation to carry to targeted tissue in liver, muscles and adipose tissue. Testosterone bind to replete with androgen receptor or AR2, exert its biological effect in skin, hair, the prostate gland and gonadal tissue. Testosterone must be converted into dihydrotestosterone or DHT by 5-alpha reductase in order to bind the androgen receptor.
Ovaries are the important part of female reproductive system. The importance of these tiny glands is derived from the production of female sex organ and female gametes. The location of these ductless almond-shaped small glandular organ is on just opposite side of uterus and attach uterus with ovarian ligament. Now have a look on the function
function of ovaries. First, protect and shelter the ova. A baby girl is born with thousands of eggs in ovaries. Ovaries provide proper protection to these ovum until they become mature. Second, ovulation. Ovaries free one or more than one egg through the process of ovulation in every menstrual cycle. It generally occurs 15 days before the next menstruation cycle. The fertilization process can be happened within 24 hours after ovulation. If ovum does not receive any sperm, the period begins.
Ovaries produce two hormones, estrogen and progesterone. Estrogen are a group of related hormones. Release of estrogen during puberty triggers the development of female secondary sex characters such as uterine development, breast development, and growth of pubic hair. Estrogen also triggers the increased growth of bones during adolescence that lead to adult height and proportion. Progesterone released by the corpus luteum in the ovary. It plays important role in the menstrual cycle and in maintaining the early stage of pregnancy. It maintains the appropriate condition in the human body to support a developing fetus.
So, what disorders affect the testes? Testicular trauma. Because the testicles are located within the scrotum, which hangs outside of the body, they do not have any protection, and this makes easier for the testicles to be stuck or crushed. Testicular torsion. Within the scrotum, the testicles are secured at one end by a structure called the somatic cord. Sometimes this cord gets twisted, cutting off the testicles' blood supply. Testicular cancer. It occurs when abnormal cells in the testicles divide and grow uncontrolled. Hypogonadism. In men, it is a disorder that occurs when the testicles or gonads do not produce enough testosterone. Epididymitis. It is the inflammation of the epididymis. Disorders of ovaries. Ovarian cancer. Cancers that begin in the female organs that produce eggs or ovaries. It often goes undetected until it has spread within the pelvis and stomach. Ovarian cysts. Ovarian cysts are fluid-filled sacs or pockets in an ovary or on its surface. Primary ovarian insufficiency, or we can say early menopause. In early menopause, the ovaries don't produce normal amounts of the hormone estrogen or release eggs regularly. Infertility is common. Ovarian torsion. It is a condition that occurs when an ovary twists around the ligaments that hold it in place. It can cut off the blood flow to the ovary and
Thank you.